because right now is a time to reflect. It's definitely a time to be humble, but it's also a time to be very, very curious. Look, I know there is an instinct right now to try and find some very clear-cut explanation to make sense of what just happened. But the thing is, there isn't just one. And there's one thing I know, it's that there were lots and lots of factors at play here. Yes, there have been some major trends wiping out incumbents all across the world post-COVID. Yes, there is a lot of sexism and racism in our country, something that definitely exists and something that can be frustratingly hard to measure. And yes, Kamala Harris ran a campaign in just 107 days. During those 107 days, she had some moments of complete brilliance. The debate and the Democratic convention both definitely come to mind. And many of us, perhaps because of those moments, thought she might be able to overcome the burden of an unpopular governing party, introduce herself to voters, bring back the members of the Democratic coalition who had left and massively outperform every single global trend. And maybe that expectation was insurmountable all along, especially on such a short timeline. But beyond those structural challenges, we also need to be pretty clear-eyed right now about some hard truths in the results from Tuesday night. I mean, Donald Trump improved to share the vote with almost every demographic group. It's a fact. He improved with men and women and with young people and with Latinos. If that's not a hard truth, I really don't know what is. And while we try to understand why that happened, I think there might be, and I've seen this out there, so I know there is, an instinct to assign blame to this demographic group or that demographic group, white women, Latino men, whatever it may be. But despite how hard this moment is and how challenging the years ahead will be, we have to resist that urge, as hard as it is, because that's just not how democracy works. Because winning elections is about convincing more voters that you are the right choice. No one American and no one group of Americans owes anyone their vote. People choose with their own free will who they think better represents their interests.
What's going on, guys? Jen Psaki looked like she's doing some soul searching. As you saw from the intro, she admitted a lot of things. She still trying to play this sexism, racism goal. And there is that you can measure that metric. You can. It's just you don't ask that question in the polls because they know the answer. It's probably less than 10% of the vote, probably less than 5% of the vote that people are considering her gender as a factor to why she was in president, right? And this is one of the things that I can't stand about MSN. And before we continue with Jen Psaki's soul searching, I want to show an article that kind of mirrors the result that I expected to happen after Kamala Harris's historic smackdown. The way she referenced like third party people, right? Like Axelrod. Oh, because of sex, and she puts it as if it was some fact. It's not a fact. Right. And then some of the things she led up with was like just imaginations, just assumptions that she conjured up in her head, and she pretends that that's a valid choice. She ran a good campaign. No, she didn't. If you lost, you didn't run a good game. You didn't run a good campaign. I don't know, that maybe that's that sports mentality that I'm bringing into the politics stuff. You lost, you didn't run a good game. At least not good enough to win. Right. And this is I'm done with my criticism. My number one criticism is it seems like no one is holding Kamala Harris to account for the way she handled her campaign, the way she ran her campaign. I keep hearing she ran a perfect campaign. Well, if you follow me on X today, I just reposted something where they said they spent $10 million on Beyonce just showing up to her rallies. Imagine that. $10 million just for Beyonce to show her face at your rally. And you telling me she ran a perfect campaign? Hey, at least Jen Psaki is trying to ask the right questions, but it may have came too little too late. MSNBC and CNN ratings plummet following Trump's landslide victory. Primetime coverage news for both networks was even worse, where MSNBC host Alex Wagner experiencing her lowest rated show ever. MSNBC and CNN ratings plummeted after President-elect Donald Trump's landslide victory against Vice President Kamala Harris was announced in the early morning hours of Wednesday after the election. According to the Nielsen data, the viewership on MSNBC on Thursday analyzing Trump's win brought in a total of 596,000 viewers, and in the covenant age demographic of 25 to 54, a total of 71,000 viewers, Mediaite reported. Over on CNN, coverage of Trump's election victory throughout the day brought in 400. These people were tuning out. So it's not only left-wing content creators like David Pakman that's suffering from, losing subscribers. These legacy media outlets are losing viewers, right? And I think this is why it's prompting Psaki to look at, like, to begin soul searching. But before we go back into the Psaki video, I want to show you a clip of Scott Jennings, Lonely Scott, on CNN, pretty much outlining the whole timeline and how Obama created Trump and how Biden's presidency strengthens Trump's support.
Scott, do you think Biden was a key factor in Trump's victory?
Of course. I mean, he's had an under 40% approval rating since August of 2021. The American people have been very unhappy with him. But on top of that, what I find particularly troubling is that all these Democrats who are now looking back on Biden and, oh, he shouldn't have run, he shouldn't have done this. These are the same people who were all too happy to go on television every day and tell us that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, everything was fine, he was up to everything. And we now know there's huge amount of evidence that he wasn't, that he really was diminished, that he really wasn't up to the job. And yet they were pushing that campaign forward anyway. They finally dumped him after the debate when they couldn't hide it anymore. To me, the reckoning here is, when did everybody know Joe Biden was diminished? Why did they lie for so long? And are we going to get a full accounting of that? So I don't think Democrats have anyone to blame here but themselves. Joe Biden's going to go down in history as a pretty terrible president, I believe. And on top of that, if you're a Democrat, you think about how he ran his campaign the first time. I'm running to restore the soul of the nation, to rid us of Trump and Trumpism. Today, Donald Trump is stronger than he's ever been, more popular, and his agenda is ascendant in our politics. It is a complete and total political failure.
I mean, Van, that last part of what Scott just said is true. I mean, Trump did win and is more ascendant than he's ever been, even despite January 6th, despite all the stuff.
Did you think I didn't hear it when Scott was saying it? Like, he's one of this, yes. What do you want me to do? Can I leave?
Republicans are kind of thankful for Biden and previously Barack Obama. I mean, it was Obama's presidency that gave us Trump the first time, and it's Joe Biden's presidency that made Donald Trump stronger than ever. So we just want to say thank you to Obama and to Biden. We just want to say thank you guys. You guys have delivered us, and we're going to have American patriotism and economic optimism again, and it goes right back to Obama and Biden. So thank you guys.
What do you want?
It made that man tap out. Can I leave? Like, how you defend that? How you defend that? And it's poetic that I'm covering both MSNBC and CNN, whose ratings are the ones that's being lost right now. And it's about the liberals. The liberals are tuning out. It's the same thing that happens to the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos say, "Hey, I don't want the Washington Post endorsing a candidate," and all of a sudden, all the left wing people want to boycott and remove their subscriptions from Washington Post. And this is the point about the liberals that I always point out. Y'all not really tolerant. Y'all just pretend to be.
On free will, who they think better represents their interests. Doesn't always make sense all the time. People are either motivated to turn out to support what a party is offering, or they aren't. And we need to reflect on that. We need to reflect on why an anti-labor, anti-working class candidate won voters who didn't go to college. Why an anti-immigrant candidate who ran on the promise of deporting millions of people made historic gains with Latino voters.
I was going to let her talk, but she's putting up an assumption here. This is an imagination, right? Hispanic voters, American voters. How Trump, the leader of white guilt, gained amongst American voters, right? Like, you already, like, you referencing people, you're representing, like, you're using liberal outlets that's already coming from a false premise. If an Hispanic is allowed to vote in this country, it means they're an American citizen. That means their interest is tied to the well-being of America. Does illegal immigrants hurt America or help America? That's the question that should be the core, like, first principles framing that you're supposed to be coming at this from. Not you already trying to inject some kind of framing into the conversation. So this is not legitimately, like, to me, this comes across insincere. This is what I'm talking about when I say liberals try to trick you into something. You already starting off from a false premise. The idea that you think Hispanics who voted for Trump are, like, somehow harmed by mass deportation. shows me you weren't paying attention. Majority of people support mass deportation, or majority of Americans support mass deportation. So why you expect Hispanics to vote any differently when they themselves are American too? Many of these Hispanics that are here, they came here legally. I will wager illegal immigrants that happen to be Hispanic are the minority of the Hispanics that's actually in the country. But here you are trying to frame it like they're the majority. It's the same framing that people like her and her ilk will say about white people. Oh, white people are inherently racist. How can you be presumed? How are you assuming someone's racist because of the color of their skin? When black conservatives say, oh, we voting for Trump because we want to be tough on crime. We want him to fund. Oh, Trump gave them full immunity, as if that's going to be a harm to me. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Do you think all black men go to jail? Majority of black men don't go to prison. You do know that, right? But the liberal assumption is, oh my God, being tough on crime hurts black people, because they automatically make an assumption that somehow you're inherently going to commit a crime or something because of the color of your skin. Yet they pretend that conservatives are the party of racism, when in reality, you always been what you always are, Democrat. And this is what we're talking about. Democrats online talking about, oh, if Harris had won, you would not be receiving racist text, the whole racist text thing. And I was like, yeah, you're right. If Harris had won, we would not receive the racist text, because the reason why the racist text came from probably Democrat supporters trying to create a story, either a prank or trying to create controversy. And somehow the media immediately assume it's from a Trump supporter. Make it make sense. Like, why would a Trump supporter send that? But these people don't think. They think everything for their own convenience. So even this soul searching to me doesn't come across as genuine, but I digress. Let her finish.
And why a country who ranks democracy as one of its top issues, including in the exit polls, elected the guy who promised to be a dictator on day one.
He joked that he'll be a dictator on day one, right? And if we're going by what the voters are saying, the problem is the voters think Kamala Harris is the biggest threat to democracy than Donald Trump. Like they thought of Biden because of the lawfare rights. You forgot about that, Psaki? You forgot that the law was coming after Donald Trump? That's why all these federal workers in the Department of Justice are scared right now for Donald Trump to come in, because they know they did something to him. They know they went after him. And now he's justified in seeking his retribution, especially that people gave him the votes and the mandate to do so. But here you are pretending like you're still not learning. You're still this is insincere. You tricked me into watching this video. I'm thinking you're going to do some soul searching, but you're not. You're still speaking to the same group of people you're speaking to. White educated women, because that's what the Democratic Party has become. It has become the party of the white educated women. That's it. It has no place for anyone else. All your messaging is catered to the whims of white women, white liberal women, and their feelings, for them to feel good about themselves. That's what the Democratic Party has become. Look how good you are. You listen to Oprah. Look how good you are. You like The View. You want diversity, even though it's a superficial diversity. But the minute you meet a black person that thinks differently than Democrats, either you're a centrist, independent, or you're conservative, they're saying you're voting against your best interest. And that's the same framing she's taking. Or Americans, you don't know any better. No, I think I know my life better than your life, than you think you know. You are pretending that you know what's best for Americans. I'm gonna stop pausing it.
In fact, split about who is the bigger threat to democracy. Those are all big questions. Man, are they big questions. And it might be a while before we have answers to all of them. We have to accept that too. Now, there were also some bright spots, including the election of 2 black women to the Senate, of Alyssa Slotkin, and re-election of Tammy Baldwin and Jackie Rosen to the Senate. Ruben Gay.
Just tell me, I hope they're good. That's all I ask. I hope they're good. Because this is the problem people have with Kamala Harris. This is why we were calling her DEI hire. Y'all out here for symbolic victories. Y'all want to be able to say, oh, we did this first, we did that first, we did this first. And people are just looking at you like, okay, but are they good though? I guess. Let's hope. Let's pray.
Diego is leading in his race too. Those races all happened, especially the last ones I mentioned, in states where Trump won. And those candidates all outperformed the top of the ticket. Maybe there are some lessons there. But
which I've been saying all along on my channel, Kamala Harris wasn't a good candidate. But do the Democrats listen? No. What do you expect to happen when you put a candidate that didn't go through the primary process? Voters had no chance of actually knowing who that person was, how her policy is, how her mannerism is. She have not won a single Democrat primary vote, and you thought she was going to outperform candidates that did go through the primary process? Make it make sense, Psaki. But you're talking about fascism and authoritarianism coming from Donald Trump when your party's already practiced that just now. You blocked other Democrats from even having a chance to primary Joe Biden. Y'all remember that? Y'all was running defense. I just showed the Scott clip. Scott Jennings just pointed it out. Y'all were protecting Biden. Y'all didn't want no other Democrat running against him. Y'all remember Dan Phillips? You had people running in the primaries trying to get airtime. No networks gave them airtime. Make it make sense. But here you are talking about why you don't understand how Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were tied for being threats to democracy. Even though you cover Donald Trump 87% of the time with negative news, and you only give nothing but positive, glowing news of Kamala Harris, American people still saw them both as threats to democracy. More so Kamala Harris than Trump. And you can't fathom that.
I do know for sure is that not nearly enough people turned out to vote for what the Democratic Party was selling nationally. It wasn't just people going to Trump's way. Millions of people didn't turn out. And I look at this as I've been reflecting over the past couple of days from my vantage point as a college-educated white person, which is one of the only demographics, by the way, that Donald Trump didn't increase his share of the vote with. And I can tell you that the message of the party is geared far too much toward me. And far too many of the people who were lifted up in the final days were people who were meant to appeal to me.
I think I can end the video there, but I got another point. Remember James Cardwell when he said the messaging is too feminine, and he got a bunch of backlash from that gay black man that's on the stage. I forgot his name already. He works for the Washington Post. He said, "Well, James, I did a video on it, right?" He's going, James, but like it's not the women's fault. They make some BS excuses, and he said, "Yo, the Democrat message is too feminine. This is why y'all pushing away young men. That's why y'all losing young men." Remember when I was being told that? I wonder how Psaki reacted to that.
Look, I happen to believe that Donald Trump is a major threat to our democracy. I believe that as much today as I did this time last week.
And Americans believe that the current administration is a threat to democracy, a threat to America, divider in chief. That's Joe Biden, not Trump, right? We believe that the mainstream media is a threat to America as well. We think you're the source of the division in our country. You're the source or the reason why you're gaslighting our family members to disown us, to disassociate with us because we approach things differently than they did. Just because we voted a different way than they did, you're telling people on MSNBC with, I forgot her name, Joy Reid, telling them, yeah, black women don't associate with your family members that voted for Trump. Y'all doing that. But then y'all gonna pretend it's Trump's doing that. Oh, there's so much division in the country when you're pushing messaging like that on your network, Psaki. But Donald Trump's the divider in chief and all. The mainstream media is the dividers, and Biden just how you say it, threw gasoline on the fire.
Fascism is a threat, a dire one. So is authoritarian leadership. I believe that in my bones, and I believe it's what we're facing. But clearly that message didn't connect with enough people.
Because it wasn't reality. That was your imagination, right? I have this thing up here for a reason. Many fear imagination more than reality. The reality of Trump is he's not a fascist. The imagination of Trump from these left-wing people, he is. And you wanted America to vote based on your imagination of the events, based on your framing of events, instead of the reality. The reality is, hey, if I was to say who's more authoritarian, it's definitely Kamala Harris. You paying $10 million to celebrities to endorse you. Everyone in Hollywood supported you. 99% of people in Hollywood supported you. The mainstream media, 80% of the time, cover you in a positive light. And you think Donald Trump's the authoritarian. This is what happens when you're in the echo chamber. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. That they don't realize that she's in a bubble. Maybe she said, oh yeah, they're just appealing to me. But no. It's not just appealing to you. Is that every institution that surrounds you guys are in a bubble. You have no relation with the average American. This is why you can't understand the average American, because you don't live amongst us. This is this elitist attitude that you spew. Even now, oh yeah, the party just catered just to me. And you expected to win?
And maybe it was the wrong closing message to choose with the wrong people. Too many people either didn't buy it and didn't show up, or were willing to price in the risk because other issues were more important to them. And the answer to that failure isn't to say fascism doesn't matter, it does, or to say everyone who didn't vote for Harris is to blame for not hearing or understanding the threat. It's for candidates to rethink how they prioritize what they talk about moving forward. It's to rethink how they engage moving forward. Do that Joe Rogan podcast, by the way. Part of the answer is to stop diagnosing and to start listening.
I'm done. So you see that Jen Psaki attempted to do some soul searching, but I don't know. Will they listen? Will they actually, do the things that they're trying to pretend to do up here? I don't know. We'll see. I see Joe Scarborough out here slamming cultural leftism and all this stuff. So maybe they're seeing things, or maybe they're just trying to find a scapegoat to move responsibility away from themselves. Who knows? But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What you think of Jen Psaki? Do you think this is sincere? Do you think, or is she just trying to come up with excuses, or trying to find some way to cope with the reality that they themselves don't understand what's actually going on in America? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.